A girl is perched on top of some guy, casually smoking a cigarette, and the dude, in turn, is getting checked out by the woman above him, who then leans in with a smirk and comments that he's finally decided to join the living. In total shock, the red-haired kid wonders where the heck he is and tries to process this crazy situation. Absolutely terrified, he leaps out of bed. The girl just scoffs, asking if whatever he was on wore off a little too quickly, and adds that she heard conscious people are way more fun to play with. That's when it starts to click for our guy. He quickly puts it together. He's been reincarnated. He remembers that 300 years ago, he accidentally stumbled into the fairy realm on Mount King Kong, which kicked off his whole cultivation journey. In those 300 years, he grinded non-stop to gain knowledge, training every single day to become a master sword cultivator. Just then, he recalls the moment he finally reached his ultimate goal. But confused, he realizes he unexpectedly failed to achieve the eternal realm and feels like he ripped open a corridor of space-time, which shot him right back to Earth as his 17-year-old self. However, he still has no clue who this woman is or what she's after. With that same sly grin, she calls him honey and tells him not to be shy and to hop back in bed, all while he's scrambling to throw on his robe, feeling pretty awkward. He tries to explain that there's been a huge misunderstanding between them and announces that he's leaving. She shoots right up, questioning where he thinks he's going. Annoyed, she introduces herself as Ye Changxi and declares that she's not letting him walk out, adding that just getting to see her is a blessing for him. Completely blowing her off, he just turns his back and makes a beeline for the door. Yeah, she's not a fan of that attitude. In a flash, she lunges at our hero, grabbing his arm, and he's shocked by how strong she is. He tries to wrench himself free, and when he does, some kind of energy starts crackling from his hands. In that instant, she realizes who he really is, while our red-haired protagonist notices that his current body is completely drained of power. Suddenly, the girl unleashes her own energy blast that sends our boy flying across the room. He glances to the side, spots his school uniform, and knows he's got to bounce, like, right now. He snags his uniform and bolts. Still smoking, the girl just smirks and wonders aloud if this isn't getting interesting, commenting that he can run for now. With a confident smile, she wonders if he really thinks he can escape her, stating that Chunjing is her great white horse, so there's no way she's letting him go. At this point, our red-haired hero is already outside, taking in the city. And then it all hits him. 300 years have passed, and he's finally back on Earth. His thoughts immediately turn to his mom, his dad, and his brother. He can finally see them again. Suddenly, he overhears a woman saying that some guy is being super dramatic, asking if it's just a bag and wondering why on earth he's crying about it. With her arms crossed, the woman tells her boyfriend to stop crying and that she'll buy it for him today, acting all sweet, loving. Her boyfriend gives her a big hug, calling her babe and saying she's the best. Watching this whole scene, our hero gets a little pensive. Then someone shoves past, telling him to get out of the way. When he turns his head, the red-haired kid realizes it's a super jacked woman carrying 2 bags of cement. Apparently, the women around here are on a whole other level now. Construction. Stunned, he wonders what on earth happened, commenting that the people here are completely different from his time. A little while later, we find him at his school. Inside the library, our protagonist is buried in a book and discovers that back in ancient times, during the spring and autumn period, a catastrophe occurred that completely altered women's physical makeup, making them both smarter and stronger. During this era, a woman named Congo established Confucianism, which was a doctrine that basically put women on a pedestal above men. This massive power shift led to the emperor losing his throne and ceding the crown to the princess. Then, in the 21st century, modern ideas started to emerge, and with them, the notion of balancing out the respect between genders, though the fundamental image of female superiority remained. For instance, when a married couple gets divorced, it's the husband who gets kicked to the curb. Plus, in this world, it's totally normal for women to pursue men. Closing the book, the red-haired boy declares that this is absolutely ridiculous, this whole idea of women being superior to men, and on top of that, women being the ones to propose marriage. He has to accept this is his new reality, but he doesn't even know if his own family operates by these rules. Back at home, his father is tidying up when he hears the door open. It's our protagonist, who is ecstatic to finally see his father again. Without thinking twice, he rushes over to the man and gives him a huge hug. His father, named Lai Yantu, points out that he thought his son was going to be at school much later. Suddenly, the man leans in and starts sniffing his son's hair. His eyes go wide as he realizes his son is wearing perfume. He immediately asks if he was with a woman, reminding his handsome son that he's warned him it's dangerous for him to be out and about. Even if it's just a classmate, he has to be on his guard. Grabbing a newspaper, he points to a story about a 15-year-old boy who got himself into a world of trouble because he trusted a female classmate, then frets about how his own son is supposed to have a future. Not understanding a single thing, our protagonist wonders what his dad is even talking about. Full of concern, His father asks his son if he even knows how terrifying this world is. He also gripes that his sister just plays video games all day, despite being from a third-rate university, unable to land a job, and having zero experience, which means the boy is their only hope. Trying to change the subject, the redhead reassures his father that he gets it and that he shouldn't worry. He then smoothly pivots the conversation and asks where his mother is. Sighing, his dad says that his mother is still out discussing business with some clients and that since the business isn't doing well, things have been really tough on her. Wanting to escape this depressing topic, our hero just announces that it's time to eat and that he'll go call his sister. With a confident stride, he starts opening her door. His sister, Chu, is wide awake, shouting at a mail streamer on her computer, telling him that he should hurry up and take off his clothes. She starts yelling all sorts of thirsty comments at the screen. Seeing this mortifying scene, our protagonist quietly shuts the door. Completely red-faced, he starts to wonder what is wrong with this world and if this is all just some horrible dream. Suddenly, he lets out an ear-piercing scream. Startled, his sister jolts in her chair. Annoyed, she stomps out of her room, demanding to know what's going on. At that moment, she emerges from her room wearing some kind of nightgown with her arms crossed. His sister looks seriously annoyed as she glares at him. Feeling awkward, he points out it's dinner time and asks if she's watching some kind of spicy flick. With a grin, she tells him those are old news, that live streams are where it's at now, and clarifies that she was just checking out some jack dude who was putting on a show. However, she warns her little bro that it's not for boys like him. Feeling a bit relieved, she starts humming as she walks around the house. Taken aback by her answer, the protagonist can't help but chuckle. A little later, as the day winds down, his sister announces she's heading out for dinner with her friends and will be back later, before asking their dad for 1,000 yen. The old man, clearly annoyed, asks what she thinks she's doing. His daughter then fires back that she's just going to hang out with her friends, which makes the old man completely lose it, and he starts laying into her. Her father tells her she should be hitting the books instead, adding that if she were just half as decent as her brother, they wouldn't have to worry so much. With the cash now in her hand, the girl scoffs, asking why she should be anything like him, and complains that he always pulls that card. Besides, she has to keep her mouth shut since he might just marry some rich lady in the future. Yelling a quick goodbye, she announces she's out of there, while her father shouts after her not to blow it all, as our hero just asks his dad if he's really okay with letting her go. Munching on an apple, his father explains that she's a woman and that he can't keep her on a short leash like he does with him, because women have to work and make a living, but his sister's attitude is just terrible. It hits the boy like a ton of bricks. This world is completely backwards. Just then, his mother gets home from work. Overwhelmed with how much he's missed her, he rushes over to give his mom a big hug. Startled, the woman asks what's gotten into him and wonders aloud if he didn't already get his allowance from her. Then, she slips him some cash. Completely floored, the protagonist recalls how he used to hustle his mom for 21 yen to play at the internet cafe and wonders what's going on, since she's just handing out money like it's nothing. He tries to give the money back, telling his mom he doesn't need it. Laughing, she tells him to just keep it. She adds that while the family is going through a rough patch, she won't let it affect him, especially his grades, because he's her greatest pride. Switching gears completely, she then asks about her daughter, Chusha. Still fuming, her husband says that she needs to have a talk with her, and tells her the girl just took off. Grabbing a glass of water, the woman sighs that her daughter is just wasting her potential and wasn't raised to be like this. But she'll figure it out soon enough. Looking a little flustered, her husband agrees with his wife, telling her she's right. Still reeling, the salvage protagonist wonders what in the world is happening, thinking that even though he knows this place is backwards, seeing his parents acting like this is just too much. Just then, his mom pulls his dad into a hug, saying he's right and that men just have it so easy in life. She goes on to explain that life is way harder for women, so they should just let their daughter be until she learns her lesson. Watching all of this unfold, the protagonist feels totally creeped out. Excusing himself, he announces he's heading to his room. When he gets to his room, he's shocked to see it's decorated in a super girly style. Walking further inside, he can't help but wonder if this is really his room. In this world, where women's rights are prioritized, families always hope for daughters. This has been the norm for years, which has created a massive gap between the female and male populations across the globe. Because of this, in this country, millions of women are still single. Any woman who wants to land a good husband needs her own house and a sweet ride, and any guy who's even remotely good-looking gets chased after. Right then, our protagonist strolls up to his desk with a smug grin, thinking that with a face like his, he's basically prime real estate for the ladies. He then pulls open his drawer, putting an end to the mystery. Inside, he finds a stack of sealed love letters. Stunned, he figures he must be the school's biggest heartthrob, the #1 guy at the entire prep school. Lying in bed later, he decides this is more of a curse and that he has to focus on his cultivation, and get out of this world as fast as humanly possible. While meditating, he senses that the spiritual energy here is incredibly dense and powerful. If that's true, he can fully restore his cultivation base and all the skills he lost during his journey through space-time. He vows to open the space-time corridor and finally return to his home world. Getting desperate, he knows he has to escape this topsy-turvy world, telling himself he can't stand it a second longer. A little while later, night has fallen over his house. After practicing the Golden Freedom Jiao, all 5 of his senses have become razor-sharp. Feeling confident, he decides to make his first attempt at escaping this reality. He focuses on the energy flowing around the house and notices that his mom and dad are sound asleep, which makes him wonder where his sister is and why she isn't home yet. He facepalms, suddenly remembering that in this world, the roles of men and women are flipped, so it's actually not a big deal for a woman to be out all night. Still, he's worried, so he gives his sister a call. He asks what's up, and she immediately answers from the other end. She's screaming for him to just listen. He can hear that she's on the floor, on her knees, being held down by 2 women, and she's crying that she's in deep trouble. Immediately, the boy starts grilling his sister about what's going on. Frantically, she tells him that there's a black bag under her bed and he needs to bring it right now to the Crescent Bar over on High Street. Snatching the phone, a woman with blue hair gets, he's got one job, get the bag to room 302. With a look that could kill, our hero grits his teeth and agrees to the demand. A little while later, just as dawn breaks, the red-haired hero is already making his exit not through the door, but straight out the window. He mutters that there's no way he's letting this go down. Scaling the side of the building like a pro, he makes one thing clear: you do not mess with his family. Tapping into the crazy skills from his past life, he starts effortlessly leaping from one rooftop to another. In the blink of an eye, arrives at the Crescent Bar. He bursts into room 302 and is immediately met with the sight of his sister, screaming his name. Wasting no time, our guy just chucks the black bag right onto the table. He tells them they got what they wanted, so they better let his sister go. Now, the bandit leader crosses her arms, telling him to listen up. Then she smirks, commenting that he's even cuter in person than he was in the pictures. She steps closer, asking how old he is, but he just snaps back that it's none of her business. Clearly not a fan of his attitude, the woman's expression sours. Her eyes dart to the side, landing on the black bag. One of her goons walks over and opens it up, discovering a huge stack of cash inside. Totally floored, his sister blurts out, asking how in the world there's money in that bag. Our hero can't believe his ears, wondering if she seriously had no idea there was cash in there. He figures it has to be at least 1 million. In a panic, the girl yells out to her brother, Shu, swearing she had no idea about the money, that there was money inside, and Shia had only asked her to hold onto it for a little while. But the woman cuts her off, telling her to shut it, and sneers that she didn't think she had the guts to steal from her, accusing Lin of trying to take her place and her money. Glancing back, she tells the girl to get lost, warning her to do it before she has second thoughts. Nervously, the girl clutches her brother, but as they try to leave, the blue-haired woman tells him to wait right there. She asks who said anything about her brother leaving, too. With a cold resolve, the girl thinks to herself that she knew it wouldn't be this easy. The blue-haired woman chuckles, saying her brother is handsome and young, and while she's fine with the girl leaving, he has to stay. Annoyed, Shia snaps that she won't let them lay a finger on him. Panicking, she tells Ju not to drag his siblings into this and demands he let them go. Laughing, the woman suggests that maybe Shia should be the one to stay. With a wicked smile, she tells the girl she's free to go, but if she stays, she'll have to work very, very hard. Without a moment's hesitation, the girl agrees, saying it's fine and that she'll stay. Turning back, she tells her brother to head home first. She promises she'll catch up later, insisting it's not safe for a guy here and that she'll handle everything. Gently moving his sister's arm out of his way, Ju asks her if she really thinks he has no honor. He strolls forward with his hands in his pockets and smirks at the woman. So, you want me to stay? Their eyes lock, and both break into matching, unhinged smiles. The woman calls him a damn brat and asks if he has a death wish, warning that she'll make his life a living nightmare in every way imaginable. Before she can say another word, the protagonist simply winds up and slaps the woman clean across the face. In the background, his sister Wang is in total shock. Furious, Joe rushes in to punch him, but he counters, and the two immediately start trading blows. They quickly jump back, and just like that, the fight is on. The protagonist grins, thinking this is getting interesting. He realizes that the women of this world possess some serious power. Wincing at his injured hand, Joe orders the other women to get him. Confidently, Gia tells them to bring it on if they think they can. He leaps high into the air, dodging an attack, then unleashes a physical skill resembling a human whirlwind. In just a few seconds, everyone is on the floor. He declares that it's over, and they should get going. As they're about to leave, they hear a sharp click. Looking back, they see the blue-haired woman is now armed, warning that if they move, she'll shoot. She then sneers, asking if they seriously think they're faster than a bullet. Her brother steps forward, pleading with Yu not to do this and to just forgive his brother. Still enraged, the woman just curses at him. She screams that it doesn't matter and that even if he begs, she's going to end him right here. Holding up a phone, the protagonist coolly comments, "You're the one who wanted this." Just then, a woman smoking a cigarette starts laughing, remarking that this is quite an interesting sight. As she gets closer, she asks why she wasn't invited to the party. Looking again, he realizes this woman is the same ex-king from before. At that moment, he starts to worry, remembering their last meeting. He cautiously asks what she's doing here. Laughing, the woman explains that this entire place belongs to her. She then calls out to Xiao, telling her she'll handle this and that she can leave. Surprised, Joe calls her crazy sister and asks if she's really planning to break the rules. Wu gives him a death glare and asks what rules he's talking about. Then, she signals her security, take her away, remove her hands and feet, toss her out on the street. Hearing this, the blue-haired woman just collapses to the ground, trembling like a leaf. Utterly desperate, she starts crying, pleading no, and saying she's so sorry. Showing a sliver of mercy, the woman looks back and says they should just take one hand and one foot. Smiling, she tells Chu Xing that this is her little gift to him and asks if he likes it. Taken aback, Chu Xing then asks if she's actually trying to be kind to him. With a gentle look, she says yes, adding that he's the very first person to dare speak to her that way, making him different from all the others. Laughing, she says her mind is made up and informs the guy that he party is going to be her 36th boyfriend. He smacks her hand away, saying, "Sorry, not interested," and adding that he can very speedy, well, take care of himself. Chu Xing just wonders who in their right mind would want to be someone's 36th boyfriend. Awkwardly, the girl remarks that he's just a scrawny little guy who could easily be one of the ladies from the pleasure district. Mocking her, the protagonist asks if she really believes that, and whether she dares to put her strength up against his. Absolutely terrified. His sister whispers, asking if he's lost his mind and how he could possibly challenge a woman as powerful as her. After hearing this, he asks if she's getting a bit full of herself. Responding boldly, he throws down the gauntlet and declares that if he wins, she has to stop bothering him for good. Surprised, she asks if he's forgotten that he's, well, a man. With a sly grin, he questions why she's acting so scared. Still, the woman introduces herself as Shen Qi, asserting that there's absolutely nothing she can't do. However, she adds her own condition. If she wins, he has to become her boyfriend. Without a second thought, the guy accepts. A little while later, the two are facing off against each other on a stage. A trio of women starts gossiping about the duel, and one of them says that if it were her, she'd want to play with the boy all night long, while her friends just crack up. Hearing all this, the protagonist reflects that in this world, women are seriously powerful and see men as completely disposable beings. Smirking, the girl tells Chu Xing she's about to make him understand the massive gap between men and women, a chasm as wide as heaven and earth. With that, they get ready to start the arm wrestling match. With a confident smirk, the woman begins to radiate some kind of supernatural energy. As he struggles, he realizes she's insanely strong and that the women of this world are truly no joke. However, his entire expression shifts as he declares that he is no ordinary human either. Shen Qi, for her part, notices the change in the guy, and then he instantly slams her arm down, winning the match and leaving her completely floored. After the duel is over, he reminds her that he won and that she better not forget their deal. Afterward, the protagonist grabs his sister's arm and they take off, while the whole crowd buzzes about what just went down. Absolutely furious about losing to a man, one of the guards approaches, saying she'll go after him, but all she gets is a hard slap from her boss. Fuming, Shen Qi tells her to shut it, claiming that she hasn't really lost yet. From the stage, she yells out to Chu Xing, saying that he surprised her, but he shouldn't forget that a man like him is destined to live under a woman's protection, and that her offer is still on the table. Frustrated, the protagonist fires back, asking why men have to rely on women, saying they have their own 2 feet and hands so they can forge their own path in life. Seeing this, one of the women asks if he's got a few screws loose. Smirking, Shen Qi remarks that since the dawn of time, men have been the ones pursued by women, and women are the ones who call the shots, pillars of this world. Twirling a lock of her hair, she adds that women are the real drivers of social change. She scoffs, saying that's something even a child knows. That's when one of the other women chimes in, asking what's so great about a guy like him anyway. She challenges him, asking how many male heroes you even see in literature, concluding that women are clearly more important to society. Stepping up to our protagonist, Wu asks what he's even trying to prove. Pointing a finger to the sky, he declares that all he knows is that men are always pushing themselves to be better, and because of that, resting in the lap of a beautiful woman is the ultimate reward for all that hard work. And with that mic drop, he grabs his sister and walks right out. Totally frustrated, one of the guards yells for Miss Wu, but her boss just smirks, asking if she doesn't find that guy absolutely fascinating, admitting he's totally her type and that she is not about to let him get away. The guard tries again, telling Miss Wu they need her back at base immediately. However, Wu just scoffs, saying she's only been gone for 2 days and there's no way she's going back now, adding that they need to stop calling her that, especially since her sister is still alive and kicking. Later that night, Sha is walking home with her brother and asks if he's going to tell their parents what happened. He says of course he is, and then asks her what she would have done if he hadn't shown up. Completely annoyed, the girl snaps back, asking if he's trying to blackmail her with this. After a moment's pause, her tone shifts and she asks how he got so strong all of a sudden. She then wonders aloud if this means she can't marry Yin, pointing out that he's the heir to a very powerful family in the city. She concludes that if they get married, it'll be a huge boost for her, and besides, she's only a few years older than him anyway, a thought that leaves her brother completely stunned. Getting seriously ticked off, he tells her to just shut it, warning that if she says one more word, he'll drag her right back to that bar. A little later, back in the safety of his own home, our hero is meditating, thinking that he needs to get his old power back as fast as possible, because his current level of strength just isn't going to cut it. So far, his training has only managed to sharpen his senses and boost his eyesight. Meanwhile, his sister is in the other room, watching TV, and impatiently tells her little brother to just drop his pants already. Unfortunately for her, our protagonist overhears this whole exchange while he's deep in his sensory training. He's completely appalled, thinking this Chuck Shaw is somehow even worse than his sister from his old world. The very next day at a man high school, our hero is all decked out in his school uniform, looking ready for class. From behind him, someone shouts his name. A bit thrown off, he wonders if it could be his best friend, Lindong. Just then, his buddy runs up, asking what he was up to yesterday and why he was totally ghosting his calls. Our guy instantly backs away, completely clueless about what's going on. His friend asks him why he's being so weird. Shu just laughs it off, telling him to forget it and that he's fine, before taking off. As he walks away, he thinks to himself that this Ken doll could never be his friend. Once in the classroom, he's just stewing in his misery, convinced he absolutely can't stand being in this world a second longer. Suddenly, someone walks up and taps him on the shoulder. Startled, he glances over to see Song She, the class president, asking him if he's feeling all right. He awkwardly brushes it off, claiming he's fine and just didn't have a good breakfast, so he's already starving. Very shyly, the girl offers him some food and reminds him that the university entrance exams are right around the corner, so he needs to keep his strength up. From across the room, another girl starts grilling the class prez, demanding to know how she dares to even speak to him. It's one of Chu's other classmates, and she marches right up to our guy, asking if he read the love letter she gave him yesterday. Without a moment's hesitation, the protagonist sends her stumbling back with a powerful shove, telling her to back off. Everyone is completely stunned by his sudden show of force. Furious, the girl scrambles up, screaming about who he thinks he is, and that he's just some guy. She then winds up to slug him in the face, but someone jumps in, yelling for them to stop immediately. It's Yao Watching's brother. The bully is totally shocked to see Yao, asking what in the world he's doing here. In response, the boy just tells her to get lost before he loses his patience. As she scurries away, the bully yells that she's only leaving because he's Whe Ching's brother. Ma then turns to Chu, telling him they need to talk and asks if he has a second. A little while later, the two are up on the school rooftop. Ma starts by saying he's incredibly sorry about yesterday and that he heard all about what went down with his sister. He explains that he'd asked someone to give Chu a ride, but then he couldn't get his location. In a flashback to the day before, we see our protagonist standing outside the Wei family's estate. That's when Ma asks his sister to drive the guy home. Later, inside the car, she offers him a bottle of water, saying it's all she has, but if he's thirsty, he should drink it. Our hero accepts the water without a second thought. Back in the present, a guilt-ridden Ma apologizes, again, saying if he had any idea what his sister was going to do, he never would have asked her for the favor. However, Shu tells him to just forget about it, insisting that he shouldn't dwell on it or feel guilty, and suggests they head back inside. Once class ends, everyone starts to head out. Looking over, our hero spots a car pulling up to the school. It's Ma's sister, and she's signaling for the protagonist to get in the car. He's immediately suspicious and asks why on earth he would do that, wondering why she's stalking him. With a sly smile, the woman simply warns him to think about his family. Left with no other choice, he gets in the car, and the girl purrs that this is much better, calling him handsome. Shu then coldly informs her that she just made a very serious mistake, getting herself involved with his family, but she flips the script, suggesting that maybe she wasn't actually making a threat. However, our hero calls her bluff, saying that threat or not, she wouldn't have brought it up otherwise. All of a sudden, he shatters a crystal ornament hanging in the car. Getting right in her face, he warns her that she better understand the consequences of daring to threaten him. She nervously insists it's not a threat and that she can actually help his mother and sister. She then adds that she knows his family's company has been in serious trouble lately. With a twisted grin, the guy asks if she's feeling sorry for him. She fires back, telling him she's only going to say this one time. She lays it all out, she's pursuing him, they should start as friends, and in return, she'll take care of his family's business problems. Hearing this, Chu casually takes a step back. He agrees, saying it's fine and they can start as friends. With a suspicious look, he warns her that if this was her real goal, she better not try to mess with him ever again. Annoyed, he tells Yi to get lost. A little while later, the girl calls our protagonist, saying she has to ask him something with a sharp look in her eye. She asks point blank if he practices ancient martial arts. However, our hero immediately denies it. The woman then says she knows he's lying about his strength and that he's not like other guys. She reveals that she did a little digging on him, digging into him and his family. She figures that even if she asked, he wouldn't tell her since it's obviously a secret. Hearing that, our hero just stays quiet, but then he glances to the side and spots a truck barreling towards them. He only has enough time to yell, "Look out!" But it's too late. The truck smashes head-on into their car. The impact is so massive that the car our protagonist is in gets sent flying. It slams back down onto the road, completely flipped over. Even though he's badly hurt, he asks if Che is all right. Turns out, the guy managed to shield her with his own body. Shocked, she realizes that he's the one who's hurt. Without a second thought, Shu scoops her up by the waist and just rips the car door off its hinges. He then declares that they both need to get out of the car. After climbing out of the wreckage with her in his arms, the girl says he's seriously injured and that they have to get to a hospital immediately. But our hero just scoffs, asking what she's talking about and if she really thinks it's over. Just then, a group of people starts walking toward them. It turns out to be a gang of women holding baseball bats. The one in charge steps up, demanding to know how they dared to hurt her man, and screams that she's going to end them both. Without any warning, the women charge, some swinging baseball bats, others with broken bottles, and one even brandishing a machete. In that instant, Che leaps into action, using her skills to defend herself. Meanwhile, a gray-haired woman comes at the boy, machete in hand. He clenches his fists, thinking to himself that they're underestimating him again. In a flash, he drives a powerful punch right into the woman's ribs, knocking the weapon from her grasp. The force of the blow sends her flying, and she hits the ground, completely out for the count. At the same time, Che is taking on all four thugs at once. With a grim expression, our protagonist snatches up the machete from ever blank his fallen opponent. Looking determined, he charges the group that's ganging up on Shang-Chi. He's on them in a heartbeat and strikes three of the women with a single swing, sending them sailing through the air. The remaining two women just stare in shock as Che finishes her own attack. She hits both of them with a clean palm strike. Just like that, all the attackers were taken down with barely any effort. Looking pleased with the outcome, Yi tells the protagonist that what he did was incredible. But Ma just brushes it off, saying it was nothing and that she should handle the rest. She agrees, saying she'll make a call to get this cleaned up, and admits that if it hadn't been for him, she would have been in some serious trouble. Then she looks at him and asks if he's really just a prep school kid. Looking at the mess, Chu says their dinner plans are obviously off for tonight and they'll have to reschedule, since it's getting late and his dad is probably worried. Right then, the girl's phone starts buzzing. She answers it, asking what's wrong. Within just a few seconds, her face goes pale, and our hero definitely notices. He starts to ask what's really going on, but she just turns her head away, insisting it's not important and has nothing to do with him. She adds that other people's family problems aren't something a prep school kid like him should be getting involved in. But then, Yi rushes over to the hero, grabbing his arm and begging him not to leave. With a shaky voice and tears in her eyes, she tells him that her mother was badly hurt in an attack, and that she's at home right this very moment. The whole situation seems suspicious, and Chu points out that both she and her mother getting attacked at the exact same time can't possibly be a coincidence, concluding that Jimmy's whole operation is in for a major shakeup. Worried sick, he starts talking about how her mother might not make it, Aunt taking over, which would definitely get her kicked out of the family. She then desperately asks what she should do. Trying to calm her down, he tells her not to cry and that he'll go with her, explaining that the family is now depending on her, which means she has to be strong and stand her ground. He concludes that he can at least be there for moral support. Surprised, the girl wonders why he's being so kind, thinking about how she might actually be able to trust a man's feelings for once. Without a second thought, she walks right up to the hero and gives him a huge hug. Later that night, at the heavily guarded Wu family estate, the young lady arrives, announcing that she's finally made it. A bit worried, the girl asks about the current situation. In response, the woman says things are looking grim. She can't get inside because Missy ordered that no one is allowed in except for the madam. Furious, the girl questions the nerve of this woman while the protagonist asks who this Yi person is. Shang-Chi explains she's the aunt her mother mentioned, someone who has been in the family for years, always plotting with other families. But since there was never any concrete proof, nothing could be done about her. Fed up, she tells the protagonist to come with her. However, one of the guards steps in their way and demands to know who the guy is, telling him he can't pass. Shang-Chi argues back, asking how they dare to disrespect her guest and questioning who they think they are. Stepping in, our protagonist claims to be a doctor, saying he's here to check on Miss Yi. He silently thinks about how lucky he is to be climbing the ranks in this cultivation world. Seeing this, the female guards start laughing, wondering, but aloud, if a pretty boy like him could possibly be a doctor. However, the hero calmly states that one of them has had a nasty internal system infection for years and mentions the other suffers from chronic pains, likely from practicing her martial arts incorrectly and using the wrong traditional remedies. Hearing this, the woman with the blue earrings thinks that this must explain why her colleague is always taking so much medicine, while the purple-haired guard admits she has no room to talk, since she is also taking medicine for a stomachache. They both bow, telling him he should go inside, but right then, Wheeze-on approaches. It's her, and she remarks that it's a good thing she arrived when she did, because otherwise, who knows what could have happened. She's standing right beside Ymir. The girl, looking completely fed up, vents her frustration about her aunt and her love for her mother, demanding to see her right now. With a mocking sneer, the woman says the young lady is incredibly rude, and asks if she shouldn't respect the family hierarchy and call her auntie. Pointing at our hero, she questions how he dared to bring this stranger here, stating that no man is permitted to enter the W family grounds. However, the young lady explains that he's the doctor she summoned and insists they both be allowed in at once. Looking surprised, the older woman says she just thought he was that guy who had been brought home a few days ago. She clarifies that for any man to enter, he must possess a certain set of skills. Otherwise, he won't get past this door. To start, she asks her own daughter to test out just how skilled this man really is, and the girl agrees. Theon thinks that if her daughter marries Wei Chen, she'll end up fighting to protect him, breaking all the family rules, and then no one will be there to protect her. Mir calls the guy handsome, saying that if she wins, he has to promise her one thing. Smiling, he asks what she has in mind. With a sly look, the girl replies that if she wins, he has to have his way with her for a night. But Shangi steps in, warning Meyer not to take it too far. Just then, our hero grabs his arm, saying it's all good and that they should get this over with. All of a sudden, a blur rushes toward the protagonist. Jumping into the fight, she aims a kick at his knee, but he easily blocks it, realizing she was just trying to distract him. In a flash, he counterattacks and lands a solid punch right in her gut. The force of the blow sends her flying backward as her mother screams out her name. Furious, the hero sneers, asking if she's still interested in that night together. In the background, her aunt gasps that this is horrible and calls him a complete animal, but the girl chokes out that it's enough, admitting she started it. Scoffing at her, Shu tells the mother she'd better get her daughter to a hospital because he can't guarantee she won't end up as an inpatient. As they leave, the woman cradles her daughter, cursing him for being so unbelievably cruel. A little while later, back at the girl's house, the aunt is pacing nervously, waiting for her niece to get back. The moment she arrives, her aunt pulls her into a hug, relieved that she's finally home. Changing the subject, the girl asks where her mother is. Her aunt explains that she's stable, but her injury is pretty severe, so for now, all they can do is keep her under observation. Jumping into the conversation, our hero says that if that's the case, they can't just sit around and wait, adding that he might be able to help. Completely confused, the blonde aunt asks who this kid in front of her is. Brushing off the question, the hero just tells them they're going to have to trust him. Shang-Chi quickly explains that this is her friend who also got attacked, but luckily, he was there to help her out. She adds that he's a doctor too. With that, they head into the mother's room. The girl immediately rushes to her mom's side, hugging her and asking if she's all right. Weakly, the woman asks who the boy is. Her daughter replies that he's a doctor and that Shang-Chi trusts him completely, so he needs to take a look at her injuries. The mother just scoffs, saying she doubts he can do much of anything, and then asks for a moment alone with her daughter. As she says this, the aunt gestures for our hero to step outside, but the girl insists her mom let him take a look, telling her that he's absolutely amazing, and if it wasn't for him, she would have been seriously hurt earlier. Shocked, the mother realizes this is the first time her daughter has ever said anything positive about a guy, and she starts to wonder if he's actually different from all the others. Truan then confirms her injury, explaining that she was struck by a blast of malicious energy on the left side of her back. He then asks if she's feeling drained from using all her Ezreali and all her Ezri, then asks own energy to fight off the invading force. Stunned, the woman's eyes go wide as she realizes he's completely right. In a calm but serious tone, she asks her daughter to leave the room, saying she needs to speak with the boy alone. Hearing this, the daughter gets a little nervous, not sure what's going on. And just like that, our hero is left alone with the injured woman. Annoyed, she immediately grills him, demanding to know if the Leaf family sent him and what exactly his intentions are with her daughter. The hero calmly replies that he has nothing to do with the Leaf family. He suggests she should be asking her own daughter about who's interested in who. He finishes by reminding her that if he hadn't stepped in, her daughter would be dead right now. After hearing that, the woman says she believes him. With that settled, she decides to show him the wound. As she starts to remove her clothes, she warns him that if he tries anything with her daughter, she'll personally take his head. Suddenly, getting a nosebleed, our hero thinks to himself that maybe she shouldn't have undressed quite so fast, that even though he's underage, he's still a man. However, when he opens his eyes, he spots something odd at some kind of curse branded onto the woman's back. Nervously, he comments that whoever attacked did way more damage than he'd first thought, and while she can fight it off for now, it's going to destroy her internal organs within 5 days. The Yi family's housekeeper then asks if there's anything he can do about it. Placing his hands on her back, he confirms he'll give it a shot right then and there. He uses a type of healing magic, and the curse mark seems to get sucked right into his hand as he works. The woman winces in pain. Our hero, completely focused, channels a ton of his energy into healing her. He sighs, saying at his current level, this is the best he can do for now, and he doesn't dare pull it all out at once since he has no idea what might happen. The woman, totally impressed, asks how he did that and says the important thing is that she already feels better. Smiling, she asks how she can possibly thank him and if there's anything he wants. He gets a little awkward and apologizes, saying that since her daughter is his friend, he felt like he had to do it. A bit embarrassed herself, the woman starts laughing, saying they're just friends and that she'd completely forgotten about that. A little while later, Shang Zhe tells the protagonist that he's absolutely incredible and she never imagined he could heal her mother like that. While hugging him, she says he shouldn't leave tonight because she has a special reward for him. Pulling away from her, the boy explains that if his parents found out he crashed at a girl's house, they would totally lose their minds. Saying his goodbyes, Exe agrees he's right, calling him handsome and reminding him to be careful not to give in to temptation. At that moment, our hero is looking down at his hand, where some kind of cursed energy is now lingering on his palm. He nervously thinks that this thing is a curse he can't possibly get rid of at his current level, and that back in the fairy world, there was an elixir that could handle it. He starts to wonder if something like that even exists in this world. The next day, our hero is walking to school when he looks over and sees a bunch of guys cheering for Tang Zan. It's the purple-haired girl who just sunk a basket, and as he's watching her, the protagonist realizes it's really her. She was his first love from back in prep school. Totally excited, the boy thinks that she still makes his heart skip a beat, while another guy remarks that Tang is a total genius. It's then that our hero remembers that things are different in this world. Here, they're complete strangers, so he decides not to bother her or make a fool of himself. But suddenly, someone calls out, telling him to wait up. It's Tang, and she asks the protagonist if they've met somewhere before. In response, the boy just says they go to the same school, so probably. But she argues, saying that's not what she meant. He gets nervous, thinking this is just like in his past life she's always trying to figure things out. Getting closer, she asks if he wants to play some basketball, offering to teach him. Hearing the invitation, he just smirks and snatches the ball right out of her hands. As they face off, he wags his index finger, challenging her to a game. The purple-haired girl, now a little irritated, says it should be a real competition and if she wins, he has to be her boyfriend. With a mischievous smirk, he asks what happens if he wins, and she fires back that she'll do absolutely anything he wants. Everyone starts buzzing that Tang Zan is about to go one-on-one with the most talented guy in the entire school. Over on the basketball court, Zillium moves like lightning. She blows right past our hero, pulls up for a three-pointer, and sinks it, leaving him looking totally stunned. As she keeps playing, the crowd starts buzzing, saying Zine's about to claim him as her boyfriend and that she's clearly the best player out here. Feeling her win, Tang declares she's not holding back anymore and that she's coming for him as her boyfriend. Rubbing the back of his neck, our protagonist just casually tells her to bring it on again. However, the girl charges at him again with the basketball. She launches herself into an incredible leap for the shot, but suddenly, she realizes something is off. Shu manages to completely block her shot, shutting her down completely. The ball goes flying way out of bounds. Someone in the crowd, totally amazed, wonders out loud how a guy can even get that high. Gearing up, our boy announces that it's his turn now. He makes a break for the hoop, ready to score in one unbelievable move. He soars through the air and throws down a monster slam dunk, scoring in an instant. A totally shocked Tang has no choice but to admit defeat. Cutting right to the chase, she asks him what he wants from her. Walking up close, our hero reaches out, touches her face, and asks if she really wants to be with him. The guys watching are getting secondhand embarrassment, whispering about how smooth he is and how he totally nailed it. Just then, Zine breaks into a blushing smile. She tells him that if he wants her, he's going to have to be even stronger. Seeing her reaction, our hero is completely thrown off. He's thinking, when did this girl get such a big ego? A little while later, over at the White family's estate, the protagonist is once again performing his healing on the woman. As he works, he reflects on how helping her recover also boosted his own pure aura and spiritual body by a solid 30%. Once he's finished the treatment, our protagonist gets ready to head out. Right outside, he runs into Shangi, who thanks him for saving both her and her mother, and then asks what kind of reward he'd like. For a split second, our hero's mind flashes to a pretty wild fantasy. Getting flustered, Chu quickly starts to leave, saying he needs some time to think it over. While walking home, he muses that during his next session with Aunt Wei, his spiritual body might awaken completely, which would be a huge leap forward in this world. Just then, a flashy purple car pulls up, and someone dressed in over-the-top clothes gets out. This guy walks right up to our protagonist, asking if he's the one they call Chu King, and if it's true he's been making moves on Tang Zan. The guy scoffs, asking if he actually thinks he's good-looking, and then wonders if he's ever even heard of Li, which just makes our hero sigh. He can't help but wonder if this dude is a complete moron. The guy then lunges forward, yelling about whether Chu is deaf, since he's talking to him, and winds up for a slap. But our hero is way faster, snatching his opponent's wrist and stopping him cold in an instant. Li immediately starts screaming at his bodyguards, asking what they're just standing around for, and ordering them to help him take care of this clown. In that same moment, our protagonist strikes first, taking out both guards with a single kick. He then grabs Li's head and smashes it straight into the pavement. With a dead serious look, he warns him that the next time he wants to pick a fight, he'd better bring more people. Furious, the guy sputters that the Li family won't let him get away with this and tells him to forget about ever having Yan because she's going to marry him. Our hero just punches him square in the face, telling him he's way too loud and annoying. After laying a beat down on, the purple-haired punk Shu dusts off his hands. As he walks off, he starts to wonder if Tang Shio's decision has dragged his own family into trouble and questions how they could ever agree to an arranged marriage with the Li family. He figures he needs to dig a little deeper to get the full story. Then it hits him, Shangi offered him a reward. He decides he's going to ask her for a favor instead. At that moment, he sends her a text saying he needs a private investigator for a job. In response, she wires him some money, telling him to keep it. Our hero, however, is confused and asks why she did that. The so-called poor student then realizes she probably assumes he's broke, but he understands that the funds are actually necessary for the investigation and for buying intel. He then makes a call, asking if he's speaking to Haha, and starts to explain why he reached out. Cutting him off, the girl asks if he's looking for some fun, stating that she isn't cheap. Sometime later, at a local diner, our hero sits waiting for someone while sipping his drink. He recalls that when he called the info broker, she didn't ask for any payment up front. He thinks it's a bit unusual and wonders if she's really trustworthy. Just then, someone comes up and taps him on the shoulder. It's Shen Ha, 23 years old, greeting him. Approaching a bit timidly, she asks what kind of information he wants. In total shock, he wonders if this is really the girl, thinking she looks like some bubbly airhead. Shen confirms that it is indeed her, and he can just call her her. She then immediately asks about his relationship with Yu In, flatly stating that the girl isn't his girlfriend, and then asks him to date her instead, leaving him completely floored. After an awkward cough, the protagonist clarifies that he's here to buy information and asks if she knows anything about Tang Zhen's family. Surprised, the girl asks if he's talking about the Tang Zhen he faced in a basketball game and then asks if she's his girlfriend. He denies it immediately. At that moment, he wonders how this girl knows all this stuff about him and whether she's already investigated him as she coyly places a hand on her face. Shen then asks if this means she has a shot at pursuing him. However, he shuts her down, telling her she should seriously focus on the job or he'll find someone else to buy information from. Finally getting down to business, the girl explains that the Tang family is a massive commercial family with a huge corporation as their headquarters, and many of the city's major companies belong to them. She mentions that recently, there have been some serious issues in the Tang family's supply chain, causing the Yi family's financial struggles led them to propose a marriage alliance. She clarifies that marrying Li Yuwei to Tang Yi, the head of the Tang family, would secure the Tang family's support. The hero thinks to himself that he never expected Tang Yi to have so many secrets in his past life, wondering if she kept quiet to avoid burdening him. The young informant then asks if that's all he needed to know. However, the hero says he also wants to know about alchemy. The girl explains that the Tang family is a clan of alchemists who specialize in elixirs and medicine. At that moment, he was shocked, realizing that alchemist families are a real thing in this world. Curious, he asked the girl if she could provide every last detail. Getting a bit flirty, she says yes, but adds that it all depends on the price he's offering, calling him handsome. Annoyed, he tells her to stop looking at him like that, but she just laughs it off. She explains there are two types of alchemy that they know of. The first is common alchemy, where alchemists use their internal energy to craft elixirs, which is the Tang family's specialty. However, the second type, alchemy, uses a mysterious spiritual power, which she admits they don't fully understand yet. Upon hearing this, the protagonist is floored, wondering if there are other people in this world just like him. After sharing all that, the girl says the info will cost him a total of 100, and since he's so good looking, she offers him a 20% discount. Chu then asks if she has any intel on confidential deals, like for medicinal herbs and similar items. Huahawa says if he treats her to dinner, she'll spill the beans. A little later, they're both walking down a street near a food stall. A guy calls out to her, asking if she's there to grab a bite. After sitting down, she orders a whopping 20 pork breasts and 4 cold beers. Stunned, our hero wonders if all women in this world love pork breasts and starts questioning if this is actually normal. Looking around, he confirms that every single woman is devouring pork breasts and chugging beer. He facepalms, realizing he completely forgot this world is the polar opposite of his original one. A while later, the girl is clearly hammered. In her drunken state, she gets uncomfortably close to the protagonist. Crying, she tells him that the guy she likes shot her down because he thinks she's poor, even after she'd been crushing on him for years. She explains that, sure, she's a bit on the small side up top, but she has her own little house and is a total gamer girl. She asks if he doesn't think she deserves someone, but he flatly says no, he doesn't. Hearing this, the girl yanks her hands away and, blushing, asks the protagonist if maybe, just maybe, he's the one who likes her. Fast forward a bit, and he's carrying her in his arms, telling her she really shouldn't drink so much if she can't hold her liquor. Playing the gentleman, the protagonist takes her home, all the while thinking about how this blonde girl can't even manage her own place. He concludes she must be a true homemaker type. Our hero then lays her down on the bed to sleep. However, she suddenly grabs him, pulling him close. In a trembling voice, she begs him to stay with her, and he agrees. Smiling, the girl says that's perfect. Then, just like that, she passes out right on top of him. A little later, he's covered her with a blanket and is now scrolling through his phone. He starts reading the news about the Tangs, the family that's in some serious trouble. He also finds information on the Shinen auction house, the most prominent one in all of Jin, a business run by a master of ancient martial arts. A smirk forms on his face as he thinks it's impossible to survive in any world without some serious cash and that, thank the heavens, he's sitting on a gold mine. A few days pass, and our hero is sitting on a rooftop, channeling his energy. He recalls that in the world of immortals, there was something known as a spiritual stone, used to supercharge cultivation and assist in practicing ancient martial arts. These stones could be mined from spiritual veins or created through eternal cultivation that absorbs the aura of heaven and earth. However, in this world, spiritual stones don't exist, so it's time to enlighten the ones he possessed. He declares that as long as he can make them, money will be the least of his worries. Over at the Yi family home, late in the afternoon, the young lady's mother is also isolating some kind of energy. Smiling, she proclaims that her strength is returning and tells a certain rival to just wait and will return the favor. Pledging her gratitude, she tells him that if he ever finds himself in trouble, he only has to ask, and they will help him in a heartbeat. As he walks away, Chu reflects that he has finished detoxifying Madame Ye's body and that her spiritual power has now been partially unsealed. That means his main mission now is to focus completely on his own cultivation. Just then, someone calls out to Chu, telling him to wait. It's Tangi, and she's walking toward him. She leans in and plants a kiss right on him. Blushing, she explains it's just a small thank you for healing her mother. Suddenly, a security guard rushes over, calling out for the young lady and saying she's needed for an urgent meeting. She quickly says her goodbyes to our hero, apologizing that she has to run. She promises that one day, she'll give him her complete gift. A little flustered, our hero thinks to himself that being kissed by a girl like her really isn't so bad. Later, back at his place, he's sitting on his bed and cultivating his energy when he starts to emit an incredible amount of power from his palm. He remembers that when he crossed through the space-time corridor, the one thing he couldn't leave behind was this very sword. It's been his companion for 100 years and seems to hold limitless potential, but he's not sure if it truly belongs in this world. Just then, a massive surge of energy erupts from within him, and he declares that it's time to say goodbye to his weaker self. As he does, intricate markings that look like some kind of ancient script begin to crawl across his skin. With a smirk, our hero announces that his spiritual body has finally been reawakened, but just as he's celebrating, his sister bursts into the room, gasping about how indecent this is and demanding to know what he's doing. In that instant, our protagonist realizes he's in deep trouble and quickly hides the sword. The problem is, he's half naked, totally flustered, and it's painfully obvious that he's hiding something. Taking in this very awkward scene, his sister just slowly closes the door and backs away. She tells him to go ahead and enjoy himself, and even apologizes for interrupting his private time. Great, our hero thinks this is just another classic misunderstanding. After that bizarre encounter, he gets dressed and cleverly wears the sword as a necklace. He figures it's about time he paid a visit to the auction house to find out what his spiritual stone is really worth. A little while later, our protagonist strolls into the auction house to get down to business. A man at the counter looks up, annoyed, and asks if he knows what time it is. He tells the kid that they're closed for the day and to come back tomorrow. In response, our hero simply opens his hand and shows him the glowing stone resting in his palm. At first, the attendant scoffs that it's just some yellow rock, but then his eyes go wide as he realizes it's something far more valuable. Completely stunned, he shoots up from his chair. He cautiously approaches and asks if he can get a closer look. As he holds it, he can feel the immense energy pouring out of it, the kind that could even boost a cultivator's training. This thing is a rare treasure indeed. He immediately introduces himself as Zhu, the heir to the Xian auction house. Returning the greeting, our hero says his name is Chu King. Intrigued, Zhu asks him just how many of these stones he has and what exactly they're called. Chu King calls it a spiritual stone, adding that a man like Zhu probably already knows its effects. He then reveals he has 5 of them. Without hesitation, Zhu offers 200,000 yen for each stone, making for a grand total of 1 million yen. A short time later, our hero walks out of the shop, thinking that the trip was totally worth it, since the price was even higher than he'd hoped. He starts thinking that if his plans pan out, he could build a serious business monopoly. He figures it's only a matter of time before he causes a massive storm that will completely shake up the entire martial arts auction world. Just then, his phone buzzes. It's a message from a girl inviting him out to a bar that night. As he's looking at it, he glances to the side and spots a mysterious figure lurking nearby. The person is wearing a long trench coat and is holding a gleaming knife. Without warning, the figure lunges straight for our protagonist. Reacting in a split second, he activates his sword formation with the activating his power. He successfully parries the knife attack. The impressed assailant jumps back, demanding to know what kind of power this is. The hero immediately counters, charging forward with a surge of energy. He delivers a fatal blow with his spiritual sword. The man goes down without a fight. At that moment, rain starts to fall as he presses his blade on the man's shoulder, forcing him to submit. With an icy stare, he demands to know who sent him. Terrified, the man confesses that Li Yue hired him to eliminate the protagonist. He admits Li told him Chu was just a weak student, but now he sees that was a total lie. Hearing this, our hero just smirks. Without a second of hesitation, he finishes the man off. As he leaves, he tells the corpse to relax because his employer will be by to collect him later. Walking away from the scene, he seethes with anger, deciding it's time to put an end to the Li family. However, he suddenly feels a sharp pain in his chest and wonders what's happening. Leaning against a wall, he realizes his body is on fire, and it's the first time he's ever struggled to control his own power. To make things worse, his vision starts to fade to black. Chu stumbles along the wall with great difficulty, and then he wonders how in the world he got to this place. Some time passes, and he finds himself heading toward Hugh's house. By the looks of him, the protagonist seems completely drunk. Without thinking, he pulls her into a tight embrace. Flustered, the girl asks what he's doing. He responds with a kiss. As he presses her against the wall, a strange pink energy starts to radiate from both of them. Afterwards, he apologizes, wondering why he felt such an intense pull towards her. He questions if it's because he just took a life, someone in this world before. After their kiss, the girl just pulls him into an embrace. With a smile, she tells him he'd better apologize and not to hold anything back. And just like that, the two of them share a very close moment. A little later, he's lying on the couch with her on top of him. Lying there, he thinks about how he didn't want to get tangled up in this world's affairs, but he's starting to realize some things are just totally out of his hands, and now he has this woman. A smirk crosses his face as, the next day at school, our hero is totally passed out at his desk when Tang walks into the classroom looking for Chewing. Hearing his name, he slowly lifts his head. The pink-haired girl comes over, telling him he shouldn't be sleeping and that he should grab lunch with her. Completely caught off guard, our hero wonders why all the women in this world are so darn forward. But then, Tang notices something odd. Leaning in closer to our hero, she asks why he smells like another woman. Feeling the pressure, the guy squirms uncomfortably in his seat. Switching gears, Tang asks where he wants to eat. Still feeling super awkward, our protagonist gets up and says he's ready to go. He breathes a sigh of relief, thinking he's lucky the girl isn't going to investigate further, because if she found out he spent the night with a different girl, she'd flip out, which would be a total disaster. Meanwhile, out in the corridor, his friend is wondering if he's dreaming, seeing as both Tang and Zen are inviting Chewing to lunch. As they walk through the school, our guy is still a bit suspicious, so he asks Tang why she invited him out all of a sudden. In response, she just says she wanted to eat with him. Then, she gets curious and asks if she can hug him now. Our hero coldly thinks to himself that she wasn't shy about asking, which makes it way less interesting. Thinking fast, he grabs her hand, making her completely flustered. Seeing the girl's reaction, he just chuckles and pinches her cheek, but she pulls away, irritated, asking how he dares to do that. Our hero, she laughs, clearly overjoyed. Watching Tang, she wonders why her heart suddenly feels so warm, a feeling she's never experienced before, especially having been raised in such a strict environment. But ever since she saw him on the basketball court, she's found herself developing these incredible feelings for him, to the point where he's become the most important person in her world. She admits to herself that she feels completely safe when she's with him, covering her face in embarrassment. The girl wonders why she's having all these crazy thoughts. Later, outside of school, they're at some kind of diner. Our hero gets the waitress's attention, ordering 2 bowls of noodles, no cilantro, but with extra chili and vinegar. Stunned, Tang asks how he knew her exact order, questioning if he's been spying on her. A bit surprised himself, the protagonist just asks why her face is so red. At that very moment, 2 women approach, eyeing them intently. The boy's instincts kick in, and he immediately feels suspicious. He then spots knives hidden under their shirts. Just then, his order is called. As he gets up to grab their food, one of the women gives a subtle signal to her partner. They both spring to their feet, knives already drawn. The woman with the braids lunges at Tang, aiming to strike her from behind. However, she gets a face full of hot noodles instead. The protagonist yelps, having burned himself on the scalding soup. Her companion doesn't quit, though, and goes right after Tang. But our hero dives in the way, taking the stab that was meant for his girl. Seeing this, Tang is frozen in pure shock. Enraged, the hero begins to radiate a massive amount of energy, blasting the woman and sending her flying. However, her partner is still standing. Worried sick, Tang tells the protagonist to run since she's the target, but Chu declares he won't leave her behind and charges straight toward the woman with the braids. She counters with a kick, but the protagonist dodges it effortlessly. Now furious, he channels all his energy into his fist. He lands a devastating blow, sending her soaring through the air. But then, the short-haired woman appears behind our hero for a sneak attack. Using her full strength, she smacks him on the back. He glances back with a terrifying look, revealing the attack barely left a scratch. He then hits her too, sending her flying and decisively ending the battle. Both assassins were utterly defeated and left seriously injured. Nervously, Tang asks if he's from a family that practices ancient martial arts. In response, Chu says no, adding that it's a little hard to explain, but he's really just an ordinary person. Taking her hand, he explains that he'll tell her everything later, but for now, they need to get out of there, because this place isn't safe, and they should call her family to deal with the 2 attackers. Outside the restaurant, Tang is helping support the protagonist. He clearly has a nasty wound on his body. Still worried about the situation, she suggests taking him to the hospital. Smiling, Chu tells her not to worry, claiming he can heal a small wound like this himself. Looking thoughtful, he considers that while the 2 were second-rate assassins, they still managed to hurt him as if they were using some kind of enchanted weapons, so he'll have to be more careful next time. At that moment, Tang tells Chu it seems he's already done his research on her family. Curious, she asks if Lai or Wei hired them and if he's in danger. Confidently, the boy says no. He assures her that he can more than handle people like them, so there's nothing to worry about now that she's seen his true power. Caught off guard by his confidence, the girl gets a little flustered. She awkwardly asks him why he saved her. Just as uncomfortable, our hero replies that he doesn't really know, all while thinking he can't just tell her she was his girlfriend in another life. She then admits that, honestly, it feels like he's known her forever, like he'd do anything for her, even lay down his life. Hearing that, the purple-haired girl is left completely speechless. He keeps going, explaining that as long as she puts her trust in him, he'll help her out. He finishes by saying he knows her family has been hitting some rough patches lately. Tang then explains that her family is renowned for their medical skills and pharmaceutical plants. But about a month ago, their family's secret formula was stolen, and at the same time, other families ganged up to try and run them out of business. She reveals that they've been digging around and found out that the Leaf family is pulling all the strings. With a grim look, our protagonist thinks to himself, the Leaf family again. Not only are they trying to ruin the Tangs, but they're also keeping a close eye on them. He wonders if they have any idea what they're getting into. Grabbing her by the shoulders, he asks if she would believe him if he told her he could solve all her family's problems. Impressed, she asks, "You can really do that?" Tang just smiles and replies that it's simple. All they need to do is create a brand new refinement formula. But Tang quickly adds that it's way easier said than done. Her family has dozens of research labs all over the city, and even with all that, it took them 20 years just to develop a few formulas. Our hero tells her not to sweat it and says they'll figure it out later. He lets her know that there's going to be a lightning storm in 2 days, and after that, his family will finally be off his back. That'll be the perfect time to get into the details. All of a sudden, he clutches his chest in pain. Worried, Tang rushes over, asking him what's wrong. In that instant, our hero remembers he marked Ye with a REI and wonders if the mark can just disappear like that. Saying a quick goodbye, he tells Tang he's got to run and will head back to school. He asks her to tell Ling Dong to make his excuses to the teacher for him. He immediately calls Hua Hua, telling her it looks like Yi Chang is in some deep trouble and asks if they can track her phone and send him the location. On the other end, the girl says she's on it and will send the coordinates right away. Next, he calls Zhu, introduces himself as Chu, and explains the situation. The attendant asks if he's got something valuable to offer. Chu says no, explaining that he just needs a ride fast. The man asks for his location and promises to pick him up, quickly excusing himself from his clients, saying something urgent came up and announcing that the auction house is closing for the day. A little while later, Chu is sitting shotgun in a Lamborghini. Inside the car, he notices that Yichang's location has changed again. He shows the driver the new spot on his phone and says they need to get there now. The attendant just tells him to hang on tight and, using some kind of insane power, floors it, making the car lurch forward. At that exact moment, our boy activates his special vision. With this power, he can see right through solid objects and spots Yichang passed out in the back of a moving van. Chu points and tells the driver, "That's the one we need to stop." The attendant slams on the gas, swerving the car right in front. The van, forcing it to slam on the brakes and crash straight into a wall. Our protagonist hops out of the car to check out the scene. Two armed goons, looking pretty banged up, stumble out of the wrecked van just as our hero approaches with his glowing sword, immediately grabbing their full attention. They're yelling to open fire, but our hero moves like lightning, effortlessly cutting them down with his enchanted blade. In a single, fluid motion, both thugs hit the deck. The protagonist heads for the van to pry it open, but just then, a sort of sixth sense screams at him. Out of nowhere, a mysterious figure zaps him with a bolt of lightning. Our hero narrowly dodges the blast, but the van erupts in flames. At that moment, two men who look like they've stepped out of a time machine show up. Surprised, the hero realizes this isn't a power normal people have, and he recalls that in this world, finding someone else who practices ancient swordplay like him is incredibly rare. That's when one of the men pipes up, saying the kid is young and full of talent, and invites him to join the Quanon cult. In response, our hero just smirks, saying he's heard of them, but wonders why this cult seems to churn out nothing but losers like the two he just dealt with. Irritated, the man turns to his companion about the word loser, stating that his brother shouldn't be talking to this punk. He should be ending him for insulting their master and themselves, maintaining his cool. Our hero questions how a couple of shallow wannabes like them even dare to come down from the mountain and suggests they should crawl back up there and train for a few more years. This statement leaves the two brothers completely speechless. The one in the green kimono absolutely loses it and draws his weapon. Charging forward, he screams, questioning how the boy has the nerve to insult him and his brother, declaring he's going to end him. However, our hero is ready, deflecting the blow with his magical sword. The man in the green kimono stumbles back, only to see his weapon is now cracked. Even more furious, he demands to know how the boy dared to damage his precious weapon. Our hero then presses his advantage with his sword, declaring he's about to shatter it. The man's staff splinters even more, and moments later, it breaks completely. Pouring more energy into his attack, he charges again, screaming that the boy can go to hell. However, with a flash of his magical sword, Chu completely neutralizes the man, severing one of his arms. Seeing this, his brother watches in pure horror. Wielding some kind of large brush, the brother roars, questioning how he dared to harm his sibling. He then unleashes a massive wave of energy, powerful enough to create a huge explosion. However, the protagonist uses the injured brother as a human shield. With a cruel grin, he shoves his first opponent aside, telling the remaining brother that if he's going to make a move, he better do it right. He scoffs that the man shouldn't be coming down the mountain just to snatch a girl and asks if that's how Taoists in this world really operate. Absolutely livid, the man in the blue kimono swears that the boy is going to die today. He launches himself through the air toward him, but just then, Shu materializes right behind him, runs him through with his sword. In total disbelief, the man wonders how this is even possible, while Kai remarks that their master definitely played them for fools. After the fight, several bodies are left defeated on the ground near the burning wreckage. At that moment, our hero notices that she's still breathing. He gently taps her cheek, telling her to wake up. The girl,